in order for you to use the Divi canvases effectively, you need to know when to apply them and the purpose of the canvases that you're using in your design workflow. So for example, here I have the main page. Now this will function as it did way before, which is this page is the actual page. So the main canvas is the actual page that we are working on. For example, if I go in and do a quick preview and leave this page, you'll notice that this is the design. Okay. Now back over here, if we want to implement other designs, so let's say, for example, you want to run a campaign, and this campaign needs to be on specific pages. And this particular item is a countdown timer. This is where you'd come over here to your canvases, and you can see I've already made a global one, okay? So anything that's labeled global can be found on every single page on your website. So the moment you make it global, it's going to be available in any page. Now, let me show you how that works. Right now, we're on the home page, right? So we are now going to choose a totally different page. I'm going to go back to my dashboard. And then over here, we're going to go to pages. So on these pages, you'll notice that I've created quite a few. Okay, we have this one here called UI Design Sample Page. Let's go to the sample page. And before it even opens, I'm going to tell you ahead of time that when I go to the canvases here, we're also going to see the countdown timer. And here it is. We're also going to see this email opt-in. So if you're designing and you know you're going to need an email opt-in and you're going to need it on several pages, you can design this ahead of time and make it global. And this will save you a lot of time because you don't have to go into each and every page, redesign it and add it. Of course, there's a workaround where you can have this email opt-in in the Divi library, right? And then import it every time you're designing. But this is more visual, right? And that's not the only purpose, as you shall see later on in this video. So right now, we're just talking about the global. So let's say on this sample page, all right, I'm going to go into this page and let's say after designing, I decide, you know what, I need to add a countdown timer on this page. All I have to do is to go to grid overview. I'll come over here to the countdown, and then I'm going to say canvas settings. So in the settings now, it's set to do not append or don't append. I'm going to go in and say append above because that is where I want to have my countdown timer. So if I hit save, and then I'm going to do a quick preview, you'll notice now I have a countdown timer. Now I can also have this countdown timer on these other pages. So for example, let's say I want to go on the UI design page. Yeah. Anyway, I've added a countdown timer, but if I don't want it anymore on that page, I can go in and then I want to find my countdown timer, go in and then say canvas settings. And then where it says append above, remove that and say don't append. I'm going to hit save, and let's do a quick preview. All right. So now this page doesn't have the countdown timer anymore. And this is the UI page. In fact, here it is. But on the sample page, you can see that it is right here on the top. Sometimes you need to refresh this because if you have a caching plugin, it won't show right away. All right, so as you can see here, we've covered the global. But what if you want to use it for other purposes? Well, you'll be going to be very excited by this. Now, let's say here, this is the home page. We only have these two. But as we're designing this, we want to experiment and see how two designs may look like side by side. Now, before canvases, we would need to create two pages. Like you call this page A, page B. That's a waste of resources. And, you know, it can be very difficult. At the end of the day, you're going to have so many pages on your website. But with this now, I can literally have the two designs side by side. And let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go back to my pages here because I think I've actually created a page which has those designs. So I'm going to say edit with Divi here. And I'm going to go into my canvas. All right. So we have these blurbs. Okay. And you notice now that these blurbs only appear on the UI design page. Right. So on the main page here, I don't have anything. In fact, if we go in and do a quick preview of this, you'll notice that all we have is just this countdown timer, which, of course, it's coming from here. But we can go in and disable it if we don't need it anymore. So I'm going to go in where it says append above. I'm going to go in and say do not append and save. Okay. So this page here now does not have anything on it. It's clear. It's blank. Okay. As it looks here on this main canvas. But now I've been designing these two. Okay. So I've made it very basic, by the way. So the first version is, okay, I want to have a button. And then the other one doesn't have a button. And I'm deciding, okay, which one should I go with for my design? Let's say eventually I decide, you know what, I want to go with the one with the button, right? And here's the fun part. I can go now into my design here, okay? Go into the blurbs, and then I'm going to say make main canvas. So this now becomes my main canvas. I can now go in, right? Edit the canvas, get rid of this one here, okay? And then now, because I've chosen this is going to be my main design. Perhaps maybe I've shared this with my colleagues or I've shared this with my client and they like this version. And by the way, this could be a complete section that you're playing around with to see which version looks better. So with this now, I can just pretty much continue on designing and make it the way I want. So for example, I can go in here and choose the actual row because for this, I'm going to need a content row. Okay. And if you're wondering why or how am I choosing this pre-designed presets called content row, or even in my design, how I'm getting all these pre-designed items, well, it's because I'm using this design system called Krafter, which I designed from scratch. And this just makes the designing of website very, very easy. Now you can see here, if I go with gap extra small, it chooses my gap for me automatically. I don't need to go in and choose what sizes I need to, add for this and so on and so forth. Everything is pretty much done for me. And this just makes the designing of websites much, much easier. So let's say I go ahead and save. And by the way, I'll leave a link to the Krafter design system in the link in the description below. All right, so let's say I have this design now. I'm happy with that. I can save. And let's say I want to continue on and create, perhaps maybe another version. I want to, experiment with another design. I can create a brand new canvas and then say experiment, right? Or, I could call it whatever I want, right? And it's not being appended. And because this is relevant to this particular page, I don't have to make it global, okay? So I can go in and now let's say I want to design something, totally new. And this perhaps could be maybe a section. So as I'm designing this, by the way, you're going to see how fast I'm going to be going through this because I'm using the design system. So let's say I go with a single column, and in this column here, we're going to have a heading. Right, so for our heading here, let's see if I have some text. Okay, I've got some text there. And we're going to now come over here and choose our heading style. So as you can see here, we have H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can even go extra large. And that font now, or that text, is fully responsive. It's fluid. You don't even have to go in and start making adjustments over here on the tablet or even on the phone. It readjusts itself automatically. Okay. Next, I'm going to just make sure that this is centered. Okay. And then under that, perhaps we want to add a paragraph text. So I'm just going to say text like that. And then I'm going to choose my lorem text here like that. Then I'm going to go in, replace my text, and then we're just going to center this. When it comes to the sizes, I'm going to come over here, and then under my text here, I'm going to say body text large, okay? That will look much better, okay? Next, I'm going to go in and add an image. Now, this image here can be also within this design. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to say image and choose an image from my media library, which is over here. Okay, so this is the image I'm going to go with. Go ahead and select that, upload image. Right, so with this now, this could be, let's say, my first version. Let's save it. Now, if I go back, you notice that we have this experiment, okay? And we can say experiment 2 over here. So now I can totally go in and design another one. So now I'm going to say add canvas, okay? So I'll design a totally new one from here. So let's say this time we're going to add an image like that. And then we're going to choose this car here. Now I'm just going to do this randomly. Okay, this is not like a proper design. Now with my row selected, I'm going to go to my preset over here, and this is going to be, let's go with full. Okay, so now we have a full screen design. Come over here on my section settings, and we're just going to remove the padding, the top and bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and add zeros here. All right, so now that I've added zeros, we have two options now when we come over here to our canvas. We have experiment 1 and then we have experiment 2, right? So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe I like this one here. So that's going to be my main page. So what happens to this one now, right? So first of all, let's assign this to the main. So I'm going to say make main canvas, okay? So this one now has become my main design. But remember, we created, oh my goodness, what have I done now? So remember, we created this as our main. So I can change that if I want to at this point. So I'm going to come to this one here and then say, make main canvas, right? So this one now here has become my main. But these blurbs here, I do want to add them onto my design. I don't want to get rid of them, right? So perhaps I can go in and make a little tweak to my design. So I can go in here and edit canvas. So this time, the tweak I'm going to make is maybe add a background color. So we're going to go in, add a background color here, like that. We're going to save it. Back over here to our canvas. We want to click on these 3 little dots, and then we're going to say canvas settings, append below. Let's save. And this time now, we are going to have our main here with this design appended below this main one here. And this is where this gets really exciting. And I'm sure you can see that this now is not how Divi Cloud works or how the Divi library works. So if I scroll down here, you see that it has been appended. Okay? So it is a really cool way of designing. Perhaps you decide, you know what? I want to add these blurbs to some of the pages. Well, you just come over here, add it, edit, make global, save. All right? So now that this is saved, I can go to a totally different page now, sample page. Let's refresh it. So now if I go to canvases, now we have this blurbs and it's set to global. So now I can go in and let's say append this design. So I'm going to go to canvas settings, append below, save. And now this is going to be appended below my main content. Let's save this. And there we go. It's appended below my main design. So this is a very, very powerful way of using the canvases. So you can use it for your main page content as you were using it before without even adding any extra canvases. 2, you can use global canvases. Now for globals, this can be headers, it can be overlays, it can be content that you want to add onto other pages that you select. Okay? You also have local canvases. This is where you have your promos, right? For that particular page. So let's say this page here has a promo. This is the main page. It can have a canvas with a Black Friday promotion. When the Black Friday is gone, you can also have a Valentine's promotion. When Valentine's is gone, you can have, let's say, Christmas promotion. Now, all these can be on different canvases. All you need to do is to append below or append above. So now our website has become super, super functional. Now, as I mentioned before, you can also have staging canvases, and this is where you are experimenting with your designs, seeing which one is better, which one you're going to apply, different colors. You're testing so many things, right? That is your staging canvas, and all this can be added and labeled into this area here. So you can have multiple canvases. There's so many that you can add in here that you can use later on. Now, there's a feature now. I tested it and it's not really working, and I'm hoping that this is going to work very, very soon in Divi. Now, let me show you what the feature is. So let's say I want to start building my templates, I would have to, let's go to dashboard. Then we're going to come over here to Divi and then theme builder. Okay. So in the theme builder here, what I would like to see is perhaps I want to inject my canvases into my templates. That would be really awesome. But let's try it out first. So let's say we create this for all posts, for example. We're going to say create. Then we're going to go to a custom body and build a custom body. So as we're building this, let's just do a quick design here. So we're going to go in and add a single column, and this is going to be a text module. Right. So for this, we want to make sure that it grabs our header and footer. Okay. Our main title. All right. So we're going to say apply. And then behind here, we're going to have, let's say, a background color. So I'm just going random here. I'm not going to design this, big time. All right. So with that now, if I go to my canvas, you notice that it's following me even in the theme builder, which is amazing. All right. So I want to add an email opt-in to this design. And this is the template, by the way. I'm going to come over here, canvas settings, and then I want to append above. I'm going to hit save. So now let's test and see if this is going to work. So I'm going to exit from here. So now you can see our body has contents on it. Now there's also one thing I want to add in here, and that is the post content. Okay. But did you see that nothing was added here? That is the issue that I'm talking about. So let's just add our post content. And here we go. Okay. So we have our post content. So let's try it one more time. We're going to go to our canvas. We want to add, let's say, this email opt-in below. We're going to come over here, canvas, append above. No, let's say append below this time. Okay. Save. So basically what we're doing here, we're saying we want all our blog post templates to have this email opt-in on the bottom. Okay. And the cool thing is we can remove it from this interface. All right. It saves us a lot of time. Okay. So now when we go to our websites, we come over here to posts. And I know there's one post here, but if I click on view, that works. Isn't that awesome? So we have our email opt-in here appended below, which is really cool. And we also have our hello world here on the top. Okay. So that means it's working. But what I noticed is sometimes it doesn't show up, as you saw in a little glitch a moment ago. But now it's actually showing, which is really, really awesome. Now, I just noticed that we also have this content here. I guess this has been appended. Let's double check. So if we come over here now and double check, I'm going to go in here and say canvas settings. Oh, yes. As you can see here, it says append below. So we don't want to append below here. So we're going to say don't append. So it seems to be working fine, by the way, which is really, really awesome. Okay. So now with that saved, if I go to my hello world here, these two should go now. And that's the glitch I was talking about. You see that? It's not going, even though I clearly came in here, edit canvas, don't append, save. Or maybe I have to exit here and then save it here. Maybe that's the issue. Let's try it. Refresh. No. So what we have an issue here with is sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because I tried it a few times. I even created a header, which I wanted to append to specific pages, and that didn't work. And as you can see here, that's the same issue that we're having. It's just stuck there. It's not moving, right? So this is something that maybe, and also you can see that it's not available here as well. Okay. So this is something that maybe Elegant Themes needs to keep an eye on and make sure that it works. I also have a course called Divi 5 Mastery. If you want to master Divi, as you can see, it's getting more and more sophisticated. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's because it's been built from the ground up. I have a course called Divi 5 Mastery. In fact, everything that we're discussing right now is going to be in the actual course so that when you start using Divi for your production sites, you are going to just follow this step by step and know exactly what to do, saving you hours going in on to YouTube or going into all these documentation and so on. This course just cuts all that time and saves you a lot of time. This course is only $27. The link to that is in the video description below. Now, there's also one thing I want to talk about here. And when I made the video last time, I actually didn't speak about it. And that is, we also have a plugin in here. So let's go ahead and edit with Divi. So in this design, let's say I wanted to add something from my canvas. So I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to now come to Canvas Portal. Okay, now this is really cool. So with my Canvas Portal here, I can click on this drop down, and now we can see quite a few items have shown. And perhaps maybe this is another way that we could use this. So if I want to add an email opt-in, I can just say, boom, email opt-in, added. So whenever I need to add anything from my canvases, I can just use this plugin. This module. Now, I can go into my row settings here and make further adjustments. So let's say, for example, I want to maybe reduce the spacing. So I can go to spacing over here, and then I want to say padding extra small, and now you can see it's reduced. But what I noticed as well is this is adding a bit more white space around this. And that is something that I need to also look at. But as you can see, this is a very, very quick way of just adding your design elements from our canvas. So again, let's do this one more time. I'm going to come over here, and we're going to choose the canvas from here. And this time it's going to be, let's say, our blurbs. And you can see they've been added. But right now, my styling is not showing. Okay, and this is the other glitch that I was telling you about. My padding is not showing, but if I save it here and do a preview, you notice that it's there. But my content is just constrained into that specific area. It's not like going wide across. And that is something that I need to go in and make a few adjustments and see how I can get it to look the way I want. But as you can see from the design itself, it looks a bit weird. And then when we come over here, it looks, correct. But overall, the idea of these canvases is very, very, very powerful. I like this, and it gives us design flexibility. We don't have to mess around too much with the library, which for me, the library doesn't have the thumbnails to let me know exactly what it is that I'm working with, which is something I don't really like, So visually, if I can see the colors, the rounded corners of whatever item that I'm designing, I think this is much, much better. So this canvas is a breakthrough for Divi, and I like the way it has been implemented. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments box below. How do you use canvases, or how do you plan to use it? Is this a groundbreaking feature, or it's one of those features that you think that, you might not be using? Let me know in the comments box below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.